The final episode is here. Without further introductions, let's witness the death of Saint Saturn, uncover the identity of the new Gorosei, and meet the mysterious figure awaiting the crew in Elbaf. Episode 1155. And as always, let's reach 2,000 likes to begin.
The episode opens with Zoro speaking to Franky and Jinbei about the sudden end of the celebration following their escape from Egghead. Luffy is overwhelmed with sadness, deeply affected by the fact that he was unable to save Vegapunk. Franky points out that it is nothing short of a miracle that they managed to escape alive, considering they were facing the Gorosei, Kizaru, the Vice Admirals, CP0, the Seraphim, and the full might of the Navy. In his view, their survival alone is already an unprecedented miracle. From Zoro's perspective, however, he does not approve of Luffy being consumed with grief to this extent. As a Yonko, Luffy must understand the weight of his position. Allowing himself to break down over the loss of one man, no matter how tragic, shows emotional vulnerability that could endanger the crew. Zoro does not lack compassion. Rather, he believes that the burden of leadership demands strength at all times. If the captain falters, what hope remains for the rest of the crew? Meanwhile, the scene returns to Egghead Island, or what remains of it. New cipher units have arrived to secure the area. Their mission is to evacuate the Seraphim, the Pacifistas, and the remaining assets. Among them are Rob Lucci and Kaku, both appearing furious as they assess the aftermath of the chaos.
When questioned about Stussy, Lucci responds by stating that they killed her. However, it is worth noting that Lucci himself is shown with his chest heavily bandaged after Zoro's attack. This raises doubt about his claim. It is unlikely that Stussy was actually killed. We previously saw a conversation between Stussy and Kaku, and it is very possible that she escaped, with Kaku asking Lucci to report her as dead. This may be the first time we see Lucci and Kaku acting based on personal judgment rather than blind loyalty to their duty. The scene then shifts to Saturn, who is aboard one of the world government ships. He addresses the Vice Admirals, announcing that they have successfully secured their objectives. York has been recovered, Vegapunk's research data has been seized, and the power source, Mother Flame, is now under the control of the world government. With this, they possess the ability to activate the ancient weapon whenever they choose. The Vice Admirals, led by Doberman, apologize for their failure to eliminate the Straw Hat crew and express their desire to pursue them to Elbaf. However, their reaction borders on absurd. Had the Giants not been occupied with the Gorosei, the Vice Admirals would have been crushed instantly. Even Bonnie and Franky alone could have dealt with them. Their incompetence is undeniable, and their continued presence is an embarrassment to the Navy. Saturn ultimately rejects their proposal to pursue the Straw Hats. He states that the true failure was allowing Vegapunk's message to be broadcast and failing to stop the Iron Giant that aided Luffy's escape. With that, the scene transitions into a flashback, taking us 200 years into the past.
After the Iron Giant attacked Mary Joy's 200 years ago, as the Gorosei themselves stated, it was either stopped or defeated. No one truly knows which. What is certain is that orders were given to dispose of it immediately. However, Saturn defied those orders and instructed the scientists to study the machine instead, believing it could be useful in the future. He even took full responsibility for the decision should it ever be discovered. After all, Saturn is a scientist at heart, and curiosity is a trait all scientists share. Saturn then questions how this giant could have remained dormant for 200 years, only to suddenly react and awaken in response to Luffy. The situation is deeply puzzling. Several questions remain unanswered. Why did the Iron Giant attack Mary Joy's 2 centuries ago? What drove it to act at that time? If it existed during Joy Boy's era, and if Joy Boy was ultimately defeated, then why did the giant act again now? If its awakening was triggered by sensing Luffy's presence, whose aura resembles that of Joy Boy, then what awakened it 200 years ago? Was there someone else similar to Joy Boy during that era? That seems unlikely. The giant's reaction to Luffy suggests that for the first time in 800 years, it sensed a presence reminiscent of Joy Boy. Furthermore, the Gorosei themselves did not recognize the giant as one of Joy Boy's allies. If they truly fought against Joy Boy during the Void Century, they should have been aware of his companions. This raises the possibility that the Iron Giant had been assigned a separate mission by Joy Boy, one that kept it away from the final battle. Perhaps it wandered the world for centuries before attacking Mary Joy's 200 years ago, only to shut down afterward and remain dormant until now. Meanwhile, Doberman cautiously questions Saturn, asking whether Vegapunk's broadcast might have contained some truth. In response, Saturn strikes him down with a powerful burst of haki, rendering him unconscious. Doberman does not die, but the blow is devastating. In the manga, it appeared as though his head had been destroyed, but the anime clarifies that he merely lost consciousness. The scene then shifts to the laboratory, where York finally awakens after having been knocked out by Joy Boy's haki. As she regains consciousness, she notices the sky covered in dense clouds and realizes that the cloud-generating machine is operating at full capacity. At that moment, the truth becomes clear to her. It was Edison. The Vegapunks are interconnected, and Edison survived. He used the machine to generate massive cloud cover and transport Vegapunk's research away from Egghead, ingenious as expected. The scene then moves to the Holy Land. A state of emergency has been declared. The celestial dragons are in panic, suffering from shortages as supply lines have been cut off by the Revolutionary Army. Akainu's whereabouts remain unknown following the incident involving Kuma. Confusion and unrest spread as doubts begin to surface regarding the truth of Vegapunk's broadcast. Inside the Chamber of Authority, the 5 elders are seated, visibly displeased by the situation. Suddenly, Garling enters the room without knocking or asking permission, shocking them all. Ignoring their reactions, he announces that he has received new orders. The Gorosei are stunned. Who, they demand, would dare issue commands above them? Garling calmly responds that from this moment forward, York will be under his authority and that he himself has been appointed Minister of War in charge of scientific affairs. He then takes a seat among them as if he has always belonged there.
Placing one leg over the other, Garling declares that he now stands among them. "We must work together," he says, "to contain the chaos tearing this world apart." Yes, Garling has become the new member of the Gorosei, taking Saturn's place. He received his orders directly from Imu himself. The remaining elders are left in stunned silence. Does this mean that Saturn has been officially sentenced to death? Garling's arrogance is striking. He shows no genuine respect toward the Gorosei. In truth, he never did. He always viewed them as beneath him, and now that he has taken his place among them, he wastes no time asserting his dominance, replacing the very man who stood beside them for centuries. The execution of Saturn has begun. What follows is one of the most shocking scenes in One Piece history. Saturn's body begins to break down as a dark, ominous energy pours out of him. The Vice Admirals stand frozen in horror, unable to move or speak. Saturn is being erased, consumed like a candle melting away. Desperate, he begs for mercy, pleading with Imu to spare him. But the decision has already been made. "Why did you allow Joy Boy to escape?" Imu asks coldly. Saturn, trembling, can only apologize. He admits that he underestimated the power of Joy Boy. His words fall on deaf ears. In an instant, Saturn is dragged into the void, consumed by an overwhelming surge of haki. A violent shockwave erupts, then silence. Nothing remains. No body, no trace, only a lifeless skeleton, stripped of all power. Such is the might of Imu. A being like Saturn, once thought untouchable, was nothing more than a tool, granted power and immortality at Imu's discretion, and stripped of both the moment he became inconvenient.
Isn't it terrifying? As we move into Punk's records, Edison begins communicating with the other satellites, Shaka and the rest, revealing a shocking truth. They have created a distorted, artificial body that connects all of them. Although their physical forms were destroyed, their consciousness still exists within the archive. In other words, even if their bodies perish, their minds remain alive inside the system. Their plan is to preserve this consciousness until humanity reaches a point where it can use it again. And where will they remain all this time? On Weatheria, the very island where Nami once trained. It turns out that Vegapunk had a close relationship with the old man who lived there. Meanwhile, the story shifts to the Revolutionary Army. Koala summarizes the critical information revealed in the broadcast. The one who wins the coming war will become the king of the pirates and gain access to the ancient weapons, the very forces that once sank the world. Sabo begins to understand why the celestial dragons reside at the highest point of the world. Ivankov then speaks about the 4 massive bridges built by slaves over the past 700 years: Tequila Wolf, Vodka Wolf, Rum Wolf, and Bourbon Wolf. These colossal structures are likely meant to connect the sacred land once the Great Flood occurs. The world government has been planning this outcome for centuries. Dragon, deep in thought, walks away in silence. He understands that once this truth is revealed, humanity will not remain calm. People will not unite, they will fight for survival, battling over the few lands that will remain above the flood. To prevent this catastrophic future, Dragon knows he must act before that day arrives. Meanwhile, back on Egghead, the story shifts again. Lilith awakens. Sanji apologizes for failing to protect Vegapunk. Through the system, Lilith realizes the truth. Even though their bodies are gone, the Vegapunks still exist. She now experiences hunger, fatigue, and bodily needs, things that York used to handle for all of them. She has become a complete individual. She shares the truth with Luffy, who is initially shocked but quickly regains his spirit. He announces a grand feast for everyone, lifting the mood instantly. Robin smiles, happy that she will finally reunite with Saul in Elbaf. Luffy boldly declares he will become the king of the pirates, even if the giants stand against him. Some fans speculate that this moment foreshadows a future conflict between Luffy and the giants themselves. We also get emotional flashbacks involving Kuma, reminding us of his tragic journey and sacrifices. Despite everything, he smiles, having fulfilled his promise to Bonnie and allowed her to see the world's horizon. The episode ends with the Thousand Sunny sailing toward Elbaf. In the final scene, a mysterious man is shown sitting on the shores of Elbaf, waiting for the Straw Hats. His voice is powerful, commanding. The anime does not reveal his identity yet, but trust me, this is a monumental figure. Some even say he surpasses Rayleigh in strength. This was the final episode before the break. One Piece will return in April 2026. Overall rating, 10 out of 10. Until then, we wait for the next chapter of the greatest adventure ever told.